Trials Talk podcast number 10 featuring TheBlazeJP. Here we go. And happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Not Mother's Day in the UK.
Happy. Yeah, not Mother's Day for you guys. I heard that you guys were, it's like 2 months earlier.
Yeah,
Blaze was saying.
It's interesting. It's the dates
Wild.
are quite different actually.
Yeah. That's so weird. Well, I saw Scott was playing a little bit of Evo.
Yeah, I just saw that.
quite a
Just
lot of
hosting,
people
huh?
have been playing Evo recently.
I noticed that you were playing it last night as well.
Yeah.
Looks like. How did that go?
It's good, man. I've been really enjoying.
Nostalgic, yeah.
Dude, the thing was, like, I never even played like any of the ninja tracks on Evo when it first came out. I just played it really casually, and I played a little bit of the gold edition, but it got really screwed up with Track Central. I could only play the stuff that I like favorited or like saved from a long time ago. Like I couldn't get any new things at all. It was really weird. But how about you, man? What was your time like on Evo? Do you remember it pretty well?
Yeah, I remember how I got into the game. It was interesting because I was looking for a new game to play, and a few of my friends were just messing around on it, like they weren't really taking it seriously, and they were bugging me for like weeks to get it and try it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got it, and we were playing each other again, just back and forth on skill game leaderboards for like 2 or 3 months before I even really touched speedrunning. I'll be honest. And I got to know. It was one of the people that got me into it was Stride. We used to play Halo together back in the day, and he's still quite
cool.
active in the community. Yeah, so we'd go back and forth for like, a whole year or two, just on each other's times, and that's how I just kept getting addicted, and just I literally didn't play another game. I think for a good 2 years when I had the first experience with Rising, and this wasn't at the release. I think Evo had been out already for like maybe a year and a half before I actually got into it.
So, did you ever try out like any of the what were the Flash games for Trials? Did you ever try those ones out way back?
Yeah, when I was in school, I played the first Trials and Miniclip. That was I can't really remember it, but I remember alt-tabbing every time the teacher.
Perfect. Just trying to sneak in some Trials. Is that when the addiction first started for you? You think? Is that when like you really
No, I didn't
understood
really
what it
get
was?
addicted to games. I mean, I was just addicted to games in general.
Yeah.
At that age, it's not one that I really. It didn't really like get me into Trials because, of course, there were Trials. Well, I guess none of us really had PCs at the age of, God, even when that was, maybe 12, 13. I didn't really have a PC of my own back then, and you kind of needed that. Trials for the longest time was on Trials, 2 and Trials 2 second edition, PC exclusives.
So how about let's go through the timeline here. How about HD? How was Trials HD for you? You remember that pretty well at all? Was that like a bigger?
I never played Trials HD.
You never
My
played
first
it, really?
experience of HD was in Gold Edition, which wasn't really it's kind of like a half.
Wow,
HD
that's really
experience, I
surprising
guess.
for me. Actually, I had no
Yeah.
idea. Cool. So what is it about Trials in general? I think this is a more broad topic that we can kind of go into. Like these, I just want to start it off with like, yeah, I don't really feel like I know you too well. I've been watching you stream for the past like, I want to say 4 or 5 months. I think I followed you a long time ago, and I hadn't really seen you stream much before until this year. And I gotta say, it's very entertaining watching you grind it out on a bunch of speedrunning tracks. You have quite the patience for speedrunning, and something I honestly can't do. I transfer that over to ninja skills instead. But yeah, man, like how did you even get into speedrunning in the first place, and what do you enjoy so much about it?
So again, like getting to know the people that I did when I first started to play Trials back in Xbox days. Stride and I got to know a couple of other people. We joined party chats, and it was that way for like a good year. And we'd just always be challenging each other to improve and beat each other's times. And it was. I guess it's just a bit of a rush when you finally get that PB that you've been grinding so hard for. It's just a great feeling, and that's something that you always strive for in Trials. It's like Trials is a game that's, it's not something you can play for 5 days and be good at. You need, it's one of those games where you have to put a hell of a lot of time into. But I've even when I was really bad at the game, I've always enjoyed it. It's not one that.
Yeah, it's quite the investment to like. Some people, I don't know if everybody, they don't really enjoy extremely hard like games that require a lot of dexterity. I think it's really it's tough to say like what type of genre that everybody really enjoys, but I think with everybody in the Trials community, we can probably agree that we all played or loved like Rock Band, Guitar Hero at one point in our lives, just for the sheer like, I don't know, the amount of strain that it puts on your fingers and like getting like perfect timing for stuff down in that regard. But yeah, no, it's the same thing with ninjas for me. Is like grinding out a track for weeks, maybe even a month on end, and finally getting that pass is like one of the most rewarding feelings I've ever gotten in like my gaming career, probably.
Yeah, the whole grind, no matter if it's ninjas or a speedrun line that you're working on, it all comes down to that moment where you finally get it, and it's such a celebration, for all that grind and effort that you've put in up to that point. And that's the great thing about Trials, Yeah, absolutely.
So what other? Oh, we already talked about what other games you enjoyed speedrunning. Did you ever do? You just did GDQ with Trials a couple times, right?
Yeah, Trials has been at GDQ 3 times now. Fusion twice, and I did Evolution Gold Edition. One of the awesome games done quicks.
Oh,
and
cool.
I did Halo in one of them, but that was a few years ago now.
Do you still run Halo at all? Every once in a while?
Yeah,
do you hop on that game?
I'm still involved in a segmenting project for the for Halo 3.
Sweet.
A quite slow project because everything is you're basically trying to get everything to a TAS standard.
Yeah, and we all know how shitty we are compared to robots, because yeah.
Speaking of, how amazing would it be if it was somebody did figure out how to TAS Trials? It's something that
dude, we have talked about that
a bit of thought to
so many times in here. I would love to see that stuff, but like getting analog
so hard to program. There's no way that's gonna
getting any sort of analog stuff down. Insane.
They'd be so
I don't know. I was trying to talk to, I think Oso would be probably one of the best people, because I think he knows some people in the TASBot community. I think he's kind of along the lines of knowing maybe a few faces on there, but I've never spoken in that community. It'd be something that I'd really like to just jump in and see what they say about Trials being a possibility. If they just say no right away, I'd be like, all right, it was worth the shot. Just trying to understand, like, would you have to do it with a keyboard? Is what I'd
that's what
say.
I was thinking. If it was TAS, it would probably be with
keyboard inputs instead.
The analog would be, it's so variable, right? Compared to arrow sticks, I think if it was ever to be TAS, it probably would be the 4 inputs of keyboards.
Yeah,
I'd say for sure. I'm 30, caveman.
Oh yeah,
Darkside.
And if you see any like questions in the chat, just like give a shout out to anybody if you guys got stuff for Blaze, like go right ahead for sure. I was thinking a lot more about GDQ over the past what was it, like the past month since we had that last, or no, it wasn't the last podcast. It was the one with Caveman Dave. We talked a lot about GDQ and the possibilities of having like a 4-way race or doing ninja percent runs. How would you feel about going back and like either writing or like commentating for stuff again?
Yeah, man, for sure. Trials hasn't been at a GDQ in a couple of years now, and I feel like with Rising, it's perfect for a couple of the real beast ninjas out there to go together and maybe even race each other. I think here's the thing: in previous GDQs, we always had the idea of submitting a race format, but it was never accepted. And we did try that the last time round, but they wanted an exhibition, which didn't go that well. And it's not all on us; it's what they wanted us to do. So we did what we could with what we had.
Mm.
and we still feel that a race would have been a better way to go about it. And I'd still like to see that at GDQ.
Well,
Yeah,
dude, put in a word. I'll definitely join you with putting
yeah,
in a word about trying to do some stuff at GDQ. I think it'd be amazing. I think it would really get this game back on its feet. I think it's something that I don't think a lot of people realize the amount of effort that goes into the community in this game. It seems like, I don't know, it could be so much more to me. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely, dude. And if you were to get like RJ and a ninja who's close to his skill level to race each other at GDQ with people commentating that can provide good dedicated commentary, I think it would be a good showing of the community.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would definitely do some justice for trials at GDQs. I'd also maybe also like to see a tandem.
Oh yeah, a tandem race.
At GDQ, because I think that would be hilarious, and
Like a
I
2v2.
think the audience would be in stitches, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just like keep, people are bumping each other with their elbows, like, hey, dude, you forgot to like accelerate this certain part. Like they're just going at it. But it'd be so hard, like being able to practice on a tandem bike, like before the races even happen, right?
A couple of riders who are closely located so that they can put in some practice locally with each other.
Yeah, I know
Because otherwise it
Drow,
would never work.
or no, not a Drow. Drolls and Timo are pretty.
Yeah.
They're like 10 minutes away from each other. Apparently, they've posted stuff already on YouTube about like. Have you seen like how inverted climbs work with the tandem? It's even better than the helium.
I haven't, dude.
It's
I have
actually
seen you doing
nuts.
some crazy backward stuff on your ninja stream, which I still think is crazy. Every time I come in, you're always like driving up some ridiculous backwards incline. It's like, how is that even happening in this game? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Moving
I
on
think
to
you were
like
playing a tandem bike ninja track actually that was made by Caveman Dave a couple nights ago.
yeah,
Pretty sure that's what you're doing.
so there was a really goofy one that Dave made that was I think he said he put 250% on like the speed of the bike, and he made it so at the start of each checkpoint the back rider would get like knocked off, so you'd have to be solo tandeming like up crazy 90 degrees and doing huge jumps and stuff too. It's really funny. But there was also another track that had that same thing with like the second rider getting knocked off, and it was like a legit front wheel back wheel with like with like everything normal for the physics. That was really hard.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool, and it was interesting how the guy got removed from the bike, where he's got like 2 bars on the neck and like the lower part of the body. Is like, yep.
Yeah.
That was quite.
Yeah.
I like that.
Really funny stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of potential, considering GDQs and races, and with the tandem bike for sure. It'd be a shame if we didn't explore that in the future.
Mm-hmm. But with streaming in general, Blaze, when did you start? When did you start streaming?
I think it was in 2013. Well, when was Gold Edition released? I think it was 2013. Sure.
Evo was 2012, right?
Yeah, so I think Gold Edition was. I'm going to say 2013, but let me just quickly Google that.
Cab, are you still alive, by the way?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Sure.
Just chilling.
Waiting for my moment.
You got any like particular questions for Blaze that you've crafted yourself?
Who, me?
Yeah. Got anything?
Not currently.
Any personalized questions for him?
Yeah, so it was in 2013.
Okay.
I started streaming.
Damn, man, that is a grind. I had no idea.
Yeah,
Started
it was
that
a long
long
time ago.
Holy cow!
That was Gold Edition when the game pretty much week 1 when it came out. There was nobody streaming trials back then. Nobody.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like to stream trials back then, you basically had to have a capture card or play on PC. And I'm not really sure how big the community was for Evo Gold.
It was
a lot
tiny.
bigger on Evo.
Like it was, it wasn't. I mean, there were people watching because people could watch on their phones or tablets or whatever they had available to watch trials streams. There were still people who were actively watching it, but in order to stream it, it was a lot harder because you had to have a laptop or a PC that was good enough to do it. It's not like you could just these days people just press stream directly from the Xbox or PS4.
Exactly, yeah. There was no like automatic console streaming or anything, so you basically had to have a capture card and a PC, or
Yeah,
stream
and
from the PC.
there was only a few people who were doing it for like the first couple of years, and that was me, Muzzer, who's an Australian dude, cool fella, Confused Muscles, and X Rotter, who streamed a lot of Test Your Might on Gold Edition.
Nice. Hey, there's a question for you about Rising. Blaze Roscoe is asking, what's your favorite track on Rising?
My favorite track on Rising, I don't know. I think I like what's it called, Chinese Gauntlet, a fair bit.
I do like that track.
It's a bit wacky, and there is a bit, there's a few parts of the track that are a bit hard to get down every single time. But yeah, I like the design of that track a lot.
Dave also asking about the ninja streaming becoming popular on Fusion, or did people stream ninjas on Evo? Ab, do you remember a lot more with that?
I didn't stream until Fusion, so I'm not exactly sure what the Evo streaming ninjas was like. But
Blaze, do you remember? Do you recall, were people streaming a lot of ninjas back on Evo days?
I'm trying to remember Gold Edition, because ninjas back then were like
I imagine like Shane and like Slick, like maybe building streams and like showing off his builds.
That's the thing.
None of them had access to capture cards though. So back then it was pretty much Muscles. Confused Muscles streamed a few ninja tracks that he'd built himself, and a few others. I played a few from time to time on stream, but no, there wasn't really any dedicated ninja streams back then. It wasn't really a thing, I guess, until Fusion came out.
I remember streaming Evo just before Fusion came out. I got back into Evo, and I already had a capture card for like quite a while before like Xbox One. So I remember streaming a bit of Evo, and I was streaming some ninjas, and I wasn't very good at the time. But there was some people like Muzzer dropped into the stream and stuff. I remember it. Seems like 5 seconds ago, but it was like...
I think Oso did some dedicated ninja streams long before Fusion came out. But he didn't stream often. It was a once in a while kind of thing.
I know that he built some stuff too. He built like a couple of really trolly ones too that he made me try out on the that bad track competition that we had a long time ago. That was a lot of fun.
On Fusion or Evo?
On Evo. There was like a really goofy like the donkey, like one of the micro donkey levels. That was like insane. And then he had his own like trolley track that had like this elevator that was extremely screwed up. It was it's really broken. It's so hard to play. But how about building stuff yourself, Blaze? Have you ever thought about that? Like a speedrun line, maybe?
Before I got into streaming, I did build a couple tracks. One of them was in the top rated for a couple days back in Evo. But then Gold Edition came out, and as a streamer, building tracks, you don't really get, many people watching, I guess. So I was always more drawn to playing and interacting with, my gameplay. When you build tracks, it's a long investment. It takes a long time to make a track really good. So it was just something that I didn't really have the time to do with, trying to stream the gameplay and mix that in. I couldn't really do both.
I feel you on that. Yeah.
And I decided to play more and stream.
Yeah. I've honestly taken a step back, and I've been taking more time for myself to like build stuff, and I have been spending the past like month basically figuring out building kind of on my own, and I finally released that one insane front wheel track. And I realized that I don't think anybody's gonna beat that except for me and Czar, maybe. Because Czar's like the only other person that'll try out front wheel only like obstacles. But I want to go back and make an easier version of it, and I have another track in the works right now that has like 5 checkpoints. It's gonna be a really weird like claustrophobic type of track where you gotta like squeeze through obstacles. It's gonna be really goofy.
It's like that Grief one.
Yeah, kind of like the Grief one, and kind of like the sandwich tracks that Marlo made.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
And how much do you think you're gonna, like, time wise, do you think you're gonna have to put into that?
Oh man, so going to like the front wheel shenanigans track, that one I started back on Fusion like during the holidays of last year, and I got like to 5 checkpoints on that, and then I set some other goals to like beat Makalu and to beat like, you know, other level 6s and really hard level 5s, and then I never really got back to it, and then until I started messing around with the editor on Rising, and I really liked the editor on here. I think it's amazing. That's probably one of the best takeaways right now for me is the editor and just getting into it, because it's like a whole new world that I'm experiencing. Trying to figure out how to build and how to test CPs is a whole other story, and like I wish that other people could test out the tracks. So like you're not allowed to go into multiplayer and test out builds. Like you have to publish stuff to test it out now, which is really goofy.
Yeah, that's I do think that's a very silly design overflow. I hope that they will address that in a future patch.
So because of that,
better address that in a future patch. Like Jesus.
Because of that, I feel like I'm having to test out the CPs for like hours on end. Like it takes me an hour just to get like 1 checkpoint done and to like test it out for that long.
You could invite
without any decoration
players in to give the feedback pre-release.
Exactly. Yeah, and then after I released the plus CPs for the front wheel shenanigans, I had to like re-release it twice because I realized I didn't put like a proper like fail area for like one of the last CPs, and then I forgot to like do a couple other things that people realized as they were playing it.
What happens is everybody has multiple tracks, and people might not be playing the right one, and
that's something that always annoyed me, and I was hoping it would be addressed in this game, but it wasn't. Given editors some control over what tracks they have uploaded, like maybe like a window of like 48 hours to remove tracks or whatever, would be quite nice. But apparently that's not.
But no, for sure, I second that. Hopefully they do add that in the future because it's needed.
Yeah, it would definitely save a lot of like when you see tracks like fix and then fix star, fix and fix.
Fix with the asterisks in it, like everything. You gotta do everything in your power to make it like, this is the one that you should be playing. Oh man, but yeah, no, I don't know how long it took me overall. I wish there was a timer for like each track that you're building. You could like set a timer for each one to see how long like an actual game time that you spent on certain stuff. But I spent
building?
Yeah, for building. And like maybe there should be like a timer for like whenever you're just in the editor by itself. That'd be kind of interesting too.
That'd be an interesting.
Yeah, some split timers would be quite nice instead of just one sort of overall timer for how long you've played the game. So like single player, multiplayer, editor wouldn't be hard to do, but
yeah,
I think tracks that I did make back in the day, I remember them taking weeks. As you're trying to get to learn everything. I think the more people release, I think the faster they can, produce tracks. I think the quicker you get used to everything, and you've done it like, I don't know, a couple dozen times. I think like you can do things a lot faster than you could on, say, your first or second try. And that's just natural with like learning and getting comfortable with the editor and things.
Yeah, it's doing it often too.
Harder with this game, with the amount of objects in this game and the way they're laid out isn't super intuitive, and it takes a lot of memorization, and it's kind of annoying. But
is that because there's so many of them from like every Trials game that's?
Yeah, but the way it's laid out is like instead of like laid out in like sections like it was in Fusion, it's laid out in sections within each game. So you've got like maybe like barrels, but you've got barrels in each game. So instead of just having all the barrels in one place, you got to remember which barrels were which game. It makes it a lot more confusing than simply just having a section.
I think that figuring out like the favorites and stuff will probably be key.
Yeah,
for future.
I don't know. Favorites have got more useful applications than just saving objects, I think. But yeah, you can use it for that.
Dave was saying that he has about 325 hours in game, and 300 of them are in the editor. Dave,
that sounds right.
Dave is not a writer; he is a builder, for sure. And he provides so much for the community. It's amazing.
Hey, Sam.
But I think another thing that we could talk about with like the editor and Track Central in general. Did you guys see the practice tracks for green belt, blue belt, black belt?
I did. I've been using the
but I
one for
know
black belt.
of them.
Been trying to pass each checkpoint, even if it's just once. Like a couple of the checkpoints I've passed, and they've taken me a good 40 minutes to do so. But hey, it's practice, right?
Dude, it is so hard for black belt.
Yeah.
It took me. I know that you were asking me in the Discord about like how long it took me to like beat it, right, for the first time. And I think it was around like 20 timeouts, and most of them, like I want to say that probably 15 of them came on CP10, the second to last CP. The
It's
overhang,
the big overhang,
the
right?
huge overhang is like the weirdest thing that you'll ever encounter in a trials track.
Which is nice with what Champy's put on the Track Central, so people can practice that.
Yeah.
Because apparently that checkpoint is just, cruel.
Yes.
I guess.
Yes, I needed to take that one into the editor myself and like, yeah, expand upon that one even more and just like try to get it consistently down, because it's like you go up the wall, but you're not leaning like at the beginning of it. So like you get an extra boost of speed, and then you do like a half lean, like half squish to like fling your back tire up at the ceiling and like hope that you have enough speed, because sometimes your tire gets glitched like going up this ramp. And like you don't get enough speed for it ever. It's so weird.
From what I've seen, you have to release off it quite earlier than you think, right?
Exactly. And you should be trying to jump like pretty fast, but you have to take into account like how fast you're going with it as well. It's very hard, and I wish I would have had this practice one for it.
Yeah,
my gosh.
absolutely.
And I tried out the
Because
helium as well.
Times you could practice it, we're getting there, and that was limited with the time that you had left on the clock.
Exactly.
For a rundown. Yeah.
And
I think it's been suggested a few times, hasn't it? A practice mode like built into the game.
Yeah.
Like it was requested like long before Fusion came out. It's kind of a shame that they haven't done that.
One of the
It would be
main
such an easy implementation as well, and it could be used like for any track. It's not like
one of the main problems going with the practice tracks that Champy came out with, if you hold down like the right bumper, you'll like scream through the track. Like you'll hold it down for literally a second and you'll skip like
that's just
like
bad,
a few CPs.
Yeah,
it's really crazy like to set it.
Yeah.
That's like easily avoidable if you know how to use logic.
But I mean, it's still really nice nonetheless. I tried out the helium as well on green, blue, and black belt, and the only one
you can do that?
I was able to beat black belt in multiplayer with the helium, and it actually
Are they the
felt
actual
so
track, or are they remakes?
like the actual
could you
track.
imagine if that
I
was
beat the actual
allowed?
one, but it was crazy.
So how did Champy get the actual track?
Well, because he's a part of the Trials Elite, right? Does he have access?
Yeah, he has access
That
to
stuff?
the game.
But he wasn't able to. So the thing was, he wasn't able to put the decoration in, right?
He did that actually, I believe, to reduce possible lag.
Oh, okay. That makes a little more
think.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense
Yeah.
then. But going back to the helium, dude, it's like impossible on green and blue. It feels almost impossible. But the weird thing about black belt, so when you're on the Mantis, the second half of the track is way harder than the first half, in my opinion. But it's opposite with the helium. So the first 6 obstacles are insane on the helium, and then it's really easy for the second half.
And I'm guessing that
Total
the speed
flip-flop.
checkpoint, the bounce one, is impossible. I can't remember. It's one of the ones towards the end on green.
Yeah,
where you
there's
gotta,
like
There's
a giant slide.
something.
The giant slide on blue, I think that's like the 4 checkpoints, like impossible. You have to hit the most OP slide. The one that you have to squish over that suspended wall. And then
I got
on
a feeling that the last obstacle on blue wouldn't be possible as well.
I don't know either about that. It'd be cool to try to
makes
go
me
into
frustrated
practice.
in a way that you can't use the black, because then I might actually have a chance.
Yeah, I think it's way more doable on the helium for sure. But
I think that would upset a lot of people though, if that was on the
helium's
Oh.
too
I think
cheap, doesn't
upset enough
count.
people as it is that
Never
you
hear
could
the
do
end of
helium
it.
on the first 3 tracks. You'd never hit the end of it.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys You guys trying out the practice tracks for Cab? You tried those out as well?
I haven't played Trials in like I don't even know how long. So, no, but
You're still watching streams though, right? You're
yeah,
still chilling in
I
there.
still watch streams.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
but still plan on leaving the community. I just don't feel like playing the game
Yeah,
as of yet. Anyway,
you still want to do the podcast, of course, and we were talking about
definitely,
and trying to do them more often as well. Trying to do them on a weekly basis instead. Something that I really want to provide to the community. Try to do a little more discussion. Try to get more guests on. Honestly, get everybody from the community involved with it.
Yeah, for me, I figure if I do an hour practice of that black belt track each day, maybe in a year, I have a chance of passing it.
Try to take
We'll
it in multiplayer. Try it on the helium. I think you'll be
I
surprised.
wouldn't want to do it on the helium though, because it's just so
like,
annoying that I can't then translate that. I wouldn't want to.
what if you?
But I could imagine how busted that
actually
is. I could imagine how OP that in easy some of the checkpoints would be with that bike, because that bike just makes a lot of stuff so much easier.
Yeah.
In the game.
Yeah, a lot of the bouncing, like if you got a lot, or if you have to have a lot of momentum to either hit a slide or a huge bounce, it's not really feasible with it. But if you're doing like any sort of climbing or technical, like short burst technical stuff, it's very, very good. But how about we move on? What's another topic? I think we talked about speedrunning quite a bit. I was talking to Colorado Flats. I don't know if you guys know him. He was one of the people that hosted the Fusion Farewell tournament, and that was such an amazing event. I want to see so much more of that. I talked to him about a speedrunning league, or he hinted at a speedrunning league, and I asked him how it was going, and basically what he was saying was that he's not sure how it would work right now because it's such an investment with both time and money trying to host these types of events. And he's realizing that Rising is not really in the best state right now, I think is fair to say, with all the bugs, glitches, and people just not really enjoying the physics of it altogether. But what do you think a speedrunning league would look like, Blaze? Like, this is something that I was like trying to contemplate over the past week since talking to Colorado. Like, how would it be laid out? Like, would it be something like you get a certain amount of time, like say you put, several people in a group together and you sit them down for 30 minutes to like run through a track?
Have multiple groups. You'd need multiple groups. Otherwise, you just have the same winner. If everybody was in the same group, you'd have the same winner and runner-up in every one of them. And then what you could do is you could take the winner of every group and then put those in like a final group for that month or something.
Yeah.
And then have them race on another set of tracks or another few tracks, to take it for that month, I guess. I can see what he's saying though, because of course, I mean, if there has to be prizes and money put into that, how willing would he be to keep that going on, let's say, like a monthly basis or a 3-month basis? It probably is quite a bit of a. I mean, I don't know the farewell to Fusion. How much money did he put into that? Do we know?
It was
quite a lot.
It was like at least $1,000, I think, like total investment into like that whole tournament, because the top prize was like 300. Second place was like
and there was like it was
100.
300 for both, wasn't it? Or was it 150?
Oh yeah, because
like
there was two different divisions. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because there was like the tier 1 division and then the tier 2, and it was split up between like level 6 ninja riders and lower, and then all the level 7 riders were like in their own category as well. And I believe it was $300 for like the first place for each side, so 600 right there for like first place in total, and then it was like 100, I think, for the second place on each side, and then like 50, and then there was some additional prizes that included like, I don't know, trials swag as well. So it was a pretty huge investment with the Fusion Farewell. And I think if we were to do some speedrunning league and provide enough material for people, I think we would have to get like a lot more people involved in the community, and I would definitely be willing to chip in to get that going.
whenever there's prizes involved, I think it's always going to generate interest from all the speedrunners in the community. I don't think that would be a problem at all. It's just more of how it would be set up and how
that's the problem. I
it would
think
be
too.
run, and would it be a monthly competition, or would it be like a seasonal thing? Yeah, there's a lot of things that would go into that would
I could see it,
I guess, refined and defined.
I could see it once a week. So this is something that we did prior to the Fusion Farewell. We did like a little test run of something, and it wasn't the exact way that it ended up being in the final like tournament, but it was a practice run of basically me and Plop where we were playing some tracks that we had never seen before, some really weird ninja tracks, and we had a 30-minute timer to beat them. But when we beat them, we could either decide if we like that run and keep that time, or we can go back and replay it again if we believe we have enough time to get a better like PB on it. So I think it would be a really cool idea to like allocate maybe 15 to 30 minutes for these groups to all run at the same time on the same track and to get the best possible time that they think they can get.
Yeah, and I think it would be very important to not tell the participants what the track is beforehand. Otherwise, they can just practice on it.
Exactly. So
just
their practice is going in.
This is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, their practice, like it'll just be all the career stuff. If we're just doing the speedrunning league, we could do this with a lot of other stuff too. We could just have maybe on. It would be maybe tough for a weekly basis, but like having the new like ninja tracks for the user created stuff that come out, like people would have to not necessarily speedrun those, but like there could be a ninja league, there could be the speedrunning league, there could be a building league, who knows? Like you could have like competitions with that.
It can absolutely work. We'd have to get people that submit to it and add to the pool of, I guess, prizes.
Yeah.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's only money that generates interest. Of course, there will always be interest of people playing trials. I think this is just something that like supplements people's, I don't know, interest in continuing to run the game.
Yeah, I think people like to see a more competitive environment too. I think is a bigger thing. This game is very casually played typically. Like for me at least, I'm always competing against myself mostly. That's my biggest rival is myself, of course. But I also like to see other people's times, and shit talking every once in a while gets people fired up, and it gets them like it gets you energized, and it gets you want to play the game and get better, of course, too. So. Yeah,
I think that's probably how it has been for a lot of us. Getting better at trials over the years. Buddy, or that one rival, that rubs it in, so you get it back, and then you rub it back to them. Yeah, it's just how the trials has always been. It's the nature of trials, and it's what we love about the game.
So, did you ever hear about the bad track competition? I hinted at that a little bit earlier. I did that with Oso. Did you ever witness that?
No, I don't think I've seen that.
So I want to do that again. It was a little event that Oso put on that I really wanted to join in with. Basically, over the course of I think a month, people were building the worst possible tracks that they could think of, and it was in association. So Oso got this idea because Red Lynx hosted the building track competition with the Panda. People were trying to make the best Panda track. And he's like, "Oh, that's such a dumb idea. I'm gonna make bad track competition." And he followed through with it, and it was hilarious. Some of the stuff that I witnessed on there, but there would be some things that I would change. There were a couple of tracks that were impossible to beat the first time through, so there would have to be some guidelines set to be like, all right, it has to be a ninja level like 3 or less, maybe if me and Oso are doing it again, because we could probably pass level 3s easily first try. If it's a weird 4, it's a bit iffy in that, but like there has to be some other guidelines placed with how we would go about a bad track competition again, and having a bigger prize pool as well. Going back to that, having more like t-shirts, shorts, sweatshirts, swag giveaway for trials equipment would be really cool. Different scoring system, because it was very personalized how we scored it, and like we had to deliberate on like just how goofy it was, how possible the track actually was, and yeah, no, that was a really fun event that I'd like to do again.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in seeing some of that, how it goes down.
Was there any events that you did before? Like, you ever do like a 24-hour stream before?
Loads. Dude, I've never been able to do a 24. I've tried. I think the closest I came was like 18, 19.
So fucking
it's
hard.
so tough.
It's really hard.
Yeah, man. At 30 as well. Like you know, if I was like a GT4, I think he did it for the first day of Rising, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how old he is. I think he's what, like 15 or something like that. He's young.
I think he's 16 now.
16.
Last time I heard.
Man. Swell still bashes them out every now and then.
Dude, Swell.
He's older than you.
He's a legend.
He must be drinking so much caffeine. I don't know how people do it, dude.
He can build all day too.
I've tried several times to do a 24-hour stream, and every time I try, I fail. I don't know. It just, you reach that point where you think you're gonna get through it, and then you just crash like 4 or 5 hours before the 24-hour mark. So I've tried, but I've not been able to.
Any other like special events that you did with? I know GDQ. That's like a really huge event. Any personalized events that you did yourself?
Personalized. I wouldn't say so. Not in. I mean, I did an ESA with Oso and ZZZLol back in 2015, which is European Speedrunners Assembly, and that's where I met Oso for the first time, which is pretty cool.
Oh, sick.
That was in
nice.
That was in England. So yeah.
Whereabouts?
Sorry, so it wasn't in England. The people that own the thing to it, they're based in England, but we actually went to Sweden for that. I can't remember exactly where it was in Sweden that we went. But yeah, that was a 2-day event, which I thought was ESA is quite small compared to GDQ, but I wanted to give it a try, and I knew that a couple of trials people were going to it, so we just got together and we made it happen. There have been a few community-driven competitions over the years that I've got involved with, but there was a bit of a debacle. I don't know if you've ever heard about it on Trials Evolution, with a few of them that were done because prizes were promised, and all 3 of these events ran for a couple months, but no prizes were ever given.
Oh no!
To the winners. So those happened.
I see those fake giveaways on YouTube all the time. Like, say, oh, smash that subscribe button, ring that fucking bell. I'll swear that somebody in the chat, the comment section, they're gonna receive $100 Amazon card. Nothing happens.
Yeah, I think one of the guys, I think it was, I can't remember if it was Vladdy, and then Defoliator. And what ended up happening is they just took all the gear that Redlinks gave them to distribute for themselves, and never gave it out.
Ooh.
So yeah, there's been a bit of bad history with
some shady stuff going on.
Events in the past year.
Yeah. Dave was asking you, is streaming your job? Is that like a full-time job for you right now?
For the last couple of months, it has been.
Yeah.
But it's not. No, for the last, since I've been streaming, no. I've always used streaming as supplementary income, but I work from home. I buy and sell goods on eBay and Amazon. It's done me well over the years. Streaming has always been a supplementary income, but over the last couple of months, it has been full time.
Yeah, it seems like it's been really blown up in your community, man. It's awesome to see that. Yeah,
I don't really know what's because in Fusion, the most subscribers I had was 114. That's where it peaked. With Rising, it's been a little bit different. I don't know whether that's just the sheer hours that I've been putting in or what, but it's been nice.
Yeah, that is really cool. What's the most subscribers you've ever had in the channel before? You remember?
Well, I'm sure you remember a dude that came into our streams a couple of times last month. He's not been back since. I think he's playing a different game, but his name's Whiskey. The dude literally gift subbed me 100 subs within a few days.
Whoa!
So it was crazy.
What a guy!
So the highest I've got to, I think, is 368. It peaked at.
What a legend!
I know.
Yeah, Whiskey. He donated to me before.
He's like, yeah, man.
He's such a generous, very generous guy in the community.
Yeah.
My gosh. But
We need some more of those guys, honestly, because I would love to see. Speaking of that, I would love to see some more people get partnered. I think Shady got partnered
yeah, he did recently.
last week based on his YouTube portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
which is well deserved. But I would like to see a few more active Trials Twitch affiliates, get partnered. I would hate to see that. It's we go like what 2-3 years into Rising and still we don't have another one. I'd like to see either you or RJ or anybody else get partnered. I would like to personally see that. I think it's well deserved, and I don't know, maybe Twitch can lower their requirements in one way or the other.
Yeah,
It'd be
it's
nice
really
to see.
tough getting to the 75 concurrent for me right now, especially with a game such as Trials. It's very tough, and I feel like for me, I've really been enjoying doing this podcast, and I think that we can expand on this podcast even more to get more people involved with it, and to reach out to more communities. Just that I don't know. I feel like doing more stuff than just like writing ninja tracks is definitely my thing, and I feel like I've gotten I've perfected it a lot more over the past couple of years since I've like exclusively been doing mostly ninjas. But there's so many other sections to it. There's like I want to build stuff too, like kind of off stream, do more stuff like regarding getting more people on for the podcast, and maybe trying my luck at like doing more YouTube videos and more commentaries about like I was talking about like the history of Trials would be a really cool YouTube video that I've been thinking about for a long time, and getting a lot of different voices talking about the progression of the whole Trials series, and like how ninjas progress, how speedrunning has progressed, how things maybe have faltered and kind of fallen backwards, how it's come back. The whole the changing environment of the Trials community would just be really interesting to kind of piece together. Be a really comprehensive video.
That'd be a nice video to
and maybe
watch.
doing more tutorials and stuff too. I talked about that on Fusion. I'd like to do tutorials for user created tracks. I know that Shady has been doing a lot of stuff regarding the extremes, and I know RJ has done stuff for like the in-game ninja stuff. Was really cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a lot more of that. I think there's a pretty big I don't know, community that like needs a lot more assistance with that stuff. That would be really appreciated in the community in general.
Yeah. And going back to that, I think Shady did an awesome job. Like if you look at it, the tutorials in previous Trials games, they're the ones that we get in Rising. They hopefully that's going to make players stick around a lot longer and not just throw the game in the bin after a couple of days. So I'd like to see that. The one thing with Trials, it's like it's always been quite a little small niche community, and I'd like to see it grow a bit more over the next few years.
It did grow on Fusion though, didn't it? Like Fusion had a lot of players.
I think that's what seems to happen though. It booms for a year and then it kind of like falls off as new games come out and interest wavers, I guess.
So what's your opinion on sort of like how Trials done sales wise? Because it doesn't look like it actually sold that well overall.
No, it doesn't look like it does, and I don't know what that is. I think maybe timing was a part to play with that. I think Rising was released at the same time as many other big AAA games.
Yeah, and it didn't actually get bad reviews like from sort of mainstream media.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know.
I think it's a matter of people sticking around, and
it's not even that.
It was like the first impression of the game, like all the bugs that was occurring.
Yeah, but
maybe some of the community and maybe a lot of people were less eager to buy it because of what happened with Blood Dragon. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe I think part of it is because of the timing. I think the timing was poor on their release because of what other games were being released at the same time.
When do you think they could have released it instead, like during the summer?
Yeah, in a more quiet window, dude. Like,
yeah,
seems like the summer is like it's always an area like you always have the Steam sales, like the summer sales, but like you don't see really big AAA games, I think, come out often during the summer.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't really compete with sales because like they're sort of like they can run whenever, but you don't really want to be releasing your game around the time when a popular game is going to release. because
And that's what happened with Rising, and I feel like that really impacted the initial few weeks.
Hmm.
That's how I look at it.
Speaking of the release of stuff, how about Trials Evolution becoming backwards compatible?
About time.
Yeah,
definitely about
about
Yeah, that should have been
time.
done a long time ago.
Yeah, I think
It's
when
interesting.
the 360 games become like backwards compatible, I think it should have released then. But yeah, what are your thoughts more on it?
We were talking about it before. It's strange timing. There's quite a lot of things that are like lining up, I think, which might indicate that it could potentially be resold by Ubisoft in the future, like on Xbox, maybe even like released on PS4 and stuff potentially.
Hmm.
Yeah, with Rising only being a couple months old, it is very strange timing. But then again, it is, from my understanding, at the time that it was, put on backwards compatible, it was a Microsoft-owned game.
It
I
wasn't
think
Microsoft owned when it was backwards compatible.
Yeah, because I think you've looked at something that you've seen on Amazon, right? And it
Yeah.
shows that it's Ubisoft who
Well,
actually might have the rights to it.
it's my theory anyway. Basically, it got delisted from Microsoft Store a couple of months ago, I think, which means that something sort of, because it was owned by Microsoft or published by Microsoft, so there's no reason why it should ever be removed unless someone bought the rights to it. And now Ubisoft are selling it on Amazon, like Xbox codes for the game, and
Yeah,
it's
because
become
if you
backwards
look
compatible.
because if you look at HD, like you mentioned earlier, it's
Yeah, HD is still for sale.
still on the marketplace, and yeah.
I think
So
with
if Ubisoft do own it, then it could potentially come to like PS4 and stuff. I don't think it will, because I don't know why they'd want to compete with their sort of current Trials games, but it definitely could if they own it.
the release of Evo, it's given me like another burst of energy with just the Trials series in general. It's a game that I've always wanted to try out. All these
Have you
legendary
been playing
ninja
it
stuff.
actively?
Yeah, like I've been playing it for the past week, and
Yeah, I've noticed quite a few people playing it.
and
You never play Rise? Did you never play Evolution before Fusion then?
I played Evo before Fusion. I
Oh, okay.
played them all the way through, but I played HD and Evo like really casually. I never knew
Yeah, that's
about
the same,
the
yeah.
whole ninja scene until like really late into Fusion's life cycle.
Okay,
But
so you played them a bit sporadically, just from time to time, kind of thing.
yeah, I like
Achievement hunting, right?
yeah, like I struggled on like the extremes. Like the last time I think I played, like I couldn't name any of the extreme tracks on Evo right now. Like
We've all
Evo
been
had
there.
some
with Trials.
bangers.
yeah, it's
I
been
don't remember ever being bad at Trials. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't,
Oh, come
Cab's always a
I
beast.
genuinely, I remember playing HD when it first came out, and I remember just passing the entire game pretty easily.
God
Like,
gave me
without,
from the first
Well,
day.
you got to take into account Cab has like 100 million gamer score, and he is a god gamer in general, and gets like
Yeah.
all the achievements for literally everything. That's probably a big factor of it, Cab. You're a natural with like these really
Yeah.
hard technical like platforming games. Probably extremely proficient. Had a lot of experience on
I
them.
would agree with that, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I just genuinely don't. I remember like actually like competing on the leaderboards when it first came out and stuff. Like obviously the times are nowhere near what they are like optimized now, but I don't know. I just don't remember struggling with the game at all.
I remember it taking me a good few weeks before I was even able to bronze the extremes.
I was looking at my achievements the other day because I remember someone brought this up. I can't remember when it was, and I completed the game in like 2 days, achievement wise.
Oh wow.
Do you
I think it
remember?
was like 2 or 3 days.
Do you remember a lot of the base tracks on Evo, or like anything in particular on Track Central Blaze that is like a standout track that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I have a crazy map. I mean, Evo. I could probably name the order of every track on that game from the first to the last. So yeah, I remember pretty much every single base game track. I could probably play the game tomorrow. I've not touched it in a few years, and I still remember the driving lines, I'd say. And Evo for me will always be probably the most nostalgic and the best Trials, I think, of all of them that I have played. I like Rising a hell of a lot, but I think, Evo is a hard game to beat.
Yeah,
it always will be.
it's mostly nostalgia though, for me at least.
I guess
know,
that
like-
does play a big part, yeah.
I suppose, like I don't know. I feel like Rising could have taken it, but like it's been such a shit show that it's like it's hard to
With all
really
the bugs.
justify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many bugs that we thought they were patched, but like still, you know, you see the stadium.
Has there been a
Second
patch
stadium
recently?
final. I don't know. I haven't
How
heard
many
anything
patches
on.
did they release so far?
I think we've had one patch so
Wow.
far.
That was the April
But-
11th, right? Or something around
yeah,
there.
and by
The DLC.
patching, they broke other stuff,
Yeah.
so it's not going well so far.
We'll talk about that in just a second. But going
We
back
will-
to
we'll get there.
yeah, we'll get there in just a second. I just want to talk about Evo a little bit more and kind of like
Sure.
what my impression is on it so far. I have been loving all the driving lines that I've seen, like all the top rated. I was able to download on Track Central. However, like I'm gonna go back and forth with some pros and cons here. It has taken me so long, and there's only certain pieces of time throughout the day that it seems like the servers work and you can actually download stuff.
Is that on Evo?
That's on
Yeah.
Evo. Yeah, if I go on to Track Central and I try to search up, you know, all of Slick's
I
tracks.
got a theory on why that happens. Why Evo's so shit on Xbox One.
Why do you think so?
I think it's something to do with the save file because on Xbox One you can only have one save file. This is my other theory is that this is the reason why it's taken them so long to cross-plat it. Is because
Is like the cloud
Um,
save maybe just doesn't really correspond with it well?
Xbox One only allows one game save, like one game like save file per game per user, whereas Evo used to download each track like just individually and just throw it onto the hard drive as like a track. It wasn't part of the actual like user save file. So I've got a feeling that they might have like had to change the way the save file works on the Xbox One so that it like combines the track file with the save file or whatever.
Mm.
And that might be why it takes so long. I don't know. This is a theory, but who knows?
I mean, it could be compatibility issues. You just have to look at Gold Edition for evidence to that, and just how hard that was for them to, you know, port certain things over. Because that was
Yeah, that's the thing though. But like, there's no like game compatibility issues because it's literally just a 360 emulator on the Xbox.
Okay.
So like any game technically will just run as if it was on the 360. So I've got a feeling that it's a save file that could have caused it.
And yeah, Price, you can download it if you had already bought it way back on the 360. It was really cool to see in the game library. It was still in there with all the DLC and everything. It took like only a few minutes to download. It's a really quick download for it too. But yeah, going back to like the overall feel of the game, like more the personalized, like how the bike wields. The bike is really bouncy. Like the suspension is insane for both front and back tire on that game.
Yeah.
The climbing, however, is extremely hard. Like if you're going from Rising to Evo, it is like, dude, it is a whole other world that you just. But I have the theory that if you get your throttle control down like really well, like climbing 90-degree stuff, like pretty steep stuff on Evo,
that you just
you'll become a level 7 rider for like a throttle track instantly on Rising. Like you'll just be able to go for days on that. But what do you guys think about like the whole transition of like the physics of bikes for each game? Do you feel like Evo would be a better like practice ground?
Evo and Fusion are like a lot more similar than Ryzen is to sort of either of those two. Like the transition between Evo and Fusion felt a lot more natural, especially on like the ninja side.
Yeah. I think that playing Evo along with Ryzen will undoubtedly help.
You can play
like,
Evo
throttle
and
stuff.
Fusion at the same time without any effect on skill. But like I've heard people having trouble switching between like Fusion and Ryzen or like Evo and Ryzen.
For ninjas, or just both.
I mean, I guess ninjas in this case, but I would imagine it's sort of applicable for anything really.
For the speedrunning stuff, I still haven't even unlocked the
especially, like,
extremes.
high-level speedrunning,
I haven't
probably.
even unlocked the extremes again on Evo yet. People were giving me a lot of shit yesterday.
I'd have to load up Evo before I'd really know how different they feel. I can't say I've played Evo in a long time now, so.
And the other thing about like going back to Evo is there's this plethora of tracks that you can play.
Oh, there's so many.
Right? There's so many tracks, and that was the same exact feeling that I had on Fusion. I was like, wow, there are
Try it,
100,000 plus tracks. When I first started playing it, and of course, not all of them are good. Maybe like 10% are like the triple A products.
It's a lot harder to find tracks on Evo though, and there's no Ninja Central for it.
Yeah, and the search parameters is a lot different. You can't just type in the name of a track. You have to know who has built it, right?
Yeah.
Did
that's
they
the problem.
have websites dedicated to listing the good Ninja tracks for Evo? I know they did it with Fusion.
I
I'm
don't
not
think they
sure
did.
if they-
Definitely not Ninja Central.
That
that's for
is
sure.
something I'd like to put together, like my own list for Evo now, just to like
Yeah.
do a lot of
If
top
if
rated
they
stuff.
get Evo running better than it currently is, then I can see it being a viable game that people will like legitimately play. But I think when it's taken like 15 minutes to download a track currently, I can't see anyone playing it for too long.
Yeah, because I would have to sit on there for an hour before, I don't know, the gears really start turning, I guess, in my Xbox to be able to, or the server like finally comes online or something. It was really weird. It usually happens late at night after I'm done streaming. I'm able to download a bunch of stuff really quickly. So it's just different times of the day. I think it's available. It was really weird.
I don't remember having any issue from the 360 though, and I've played Evo like not like regularly, but like it wasn't that long ago since I played Evo on the 360, and I don't remember having any issues like that you have on the Xbox One. So it's definitely an Xbox One exclusive problem, I think. Hopefully it's fixable.
Yeah.
But
The servers are still there, right? They're just extremely slow.
yeah, that's the thing.
Mhm.
Like you can do everything, it just takes forever.
Yeah. I like the UI a lot in Rising. Or I mean
it was
Evo.
instant back in Evo's,
Prime.
the Prime. It was
It still is. It still is instant on 360. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
only Xbox One that sort of seems to have an effect on it.
I was trying to compare the differences in the UI with Evo and Ryzen, and Evo, it's like really simple, really intuitive.
I don't like Ryzen's UI.
Yeah, Evo, and I like the fact that you can go into the list of like all of the user created tracks when you're on Track Central. You can change the view, so you don't have to look at all of the thumbnails. You can just have it like a really compressed list, and then sort it by difficulty, the creator, when it was created. Like, I love that factor with Evo Track Central. Just a matter of downloading stuff. Biggest problem for me right now.
Yeah, I wonder if they're actually going to address that. I'm
Depends
sure
how.
somebody's tried to contact them about it in some way. I'm sure there are people who have reached out.
Thing is, though, people will probably reach out to Red Links thinking that they have anything to do with it.
But they don't, and they're not going to be able to. Yeah.
But any other pieces about Evo? I don't have too much else. I don't want to talk about too much about it. I want to go kind of more back to Rising and the overview that I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen Storm's video and just kind of talking about, breaking down.
Is it recent or is it like?
No, this video that Storm came out with is like 3 or 4 weeks old, and I don't think
I haven't actually seen it.
we didn't chime in on it at all. The last podcast about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, you were asking my favorite tracks from Evo. I'd probably just put a few good ones in there. I'd name some like Lab Rat and Sewage Plant. People didn't really like that track. Thought it was a great one. Giga Track, I'd love to see a really long track in a future DLC for Ryzen.
Yeah.
Confirmed?
No, not confirmed.
Definitely. Oh, and what were some of the other questions they had?
That's another thing, because
DLC.
Something I can say about DLC and confirming stuff. As a member of the Trials Elite program, we don't have access or any knowledge of the DLC stuff. That ended when the game was released, so we don't get to play any of the upcoming tracks as they're built anymore.
Mm-hmm. You added some other like DLC questions for me. I forgot what some of them were. I don't have the Discord. I have it like full screen for the webcam. So, if you could tell me some of those questions for it.
Where do you guys think, this goes to Cab too, would be like cool locations for them to put some new tracks down on?
Oh,
in the world map.
Yeah, this is something I think we talked a little bit about it
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we talked a
Yeah, we
little bit
did,
about it
yeah.
last time, but I'll just say it really quick that I think some areas in South America would be amazing, like Patagonia, like seeing a lot of
Yeah.
some really spacious environments with the mountains in Chile, Argentina, and stuff would be really cool.
Nice. I'd like to see them do some stuff because I mean I'm in the blues just see some stuff in Australia, New
I
Zealand.
think isn't Australia included in the next DLC?
Is it?
I
Is there
think
actually
so.
been any information about
Yeah,
that? 'Cause I haven't
it's
looked.
going to be all Southern Hemisphere stuff for the
Oh,
next
sweet.
DLC. Yeah, it's South America, Africa, maybe even Antarctica and Australia for sure.
Cool.
Antarctica would be pretty good. Climbing
Yeah.
the wall.
Oh man.
Make a good ninja track right there. Someone should jump on that idea.
Somebody should just make an entire level made out of penguins, maybe. That'd be
Yeah, and
one
some igloos
possibility.
and a few fishermen.
Penguin army.
How about you, Blaze? Like, what other stuff do you want to see in DLC? Do you want to see ninja tracks? I was a bit surprised that they didn't add one in this last one.
I did mention this to you. Yeah, I wanted to know your thoughts on that because I had no idea that there wouldn't be any more ninjas being released. I thought that they'd do like at least one track.
I anticipated one.
Ninja would have been nice.
I anticipated one. I was calling that before it came out too.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? You know, do you
the way
feel
they've
that
done
definitely
ninja
should be-
tracks is kind of like it sort of like excludes the possibility of ninja tracks outside of like the dojo.
Okay.
The way they've sort of
Well,
got
not
it.
necessarily because if you look at the skill game section, they've added them in the.
Yeah, but they added them in the skill game with this. Like it. What I meant is like having them because each DLC is themed. Unless there's like a DLC that covers Japan as well, you can't. It would seem weird to just throw an extra like dojo track in. If you know what I mean. So like the Route 66, it couldn't just be like Route 66 and then just whack another ninja track in Japan because it's not.
You know,
Route
there could be some
66.
invaders coming along, and I'm sure they I mean, if they put enough brain power to it, I'm sure they'd find a way to chuck a few more in the dojo. I don't know. I feel like there should be I feel like there should be one per.
Yeah,
per
they
DLC.
committed to ninjas, so well,
Yeah.
they committed to the idea of ninjas.
Not even you wouldn't even have to put another dojo on the map. You could put multiple dojos on the map. Heck, you could put one in Australia.
Yeah, it doesn't have to
No,
be
I
just
guess-
exclusive to the Japanese spot, I think.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
I don't think it does, but I think the way they've sort of set it out, they planned on keeping it exclusive to that one sort of menu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of Zen like communities and practices around the globe, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think it's more to do with like just where they want to put the ninjas from like a UI aspect. Like they want all the ninjas in the same place, like the same menu, which would only work if they carried on adding them to the dojo.
No, I expected there to be one with the last DLC. I was surprised.
I was hopeful, but I didn't. I can't say I'd expect it. I don't know.
Well, how about we hinted at the whole Trials Rising overview stuff, and so Storm's video. Wanted to chime in a little bit with that one again, since you haven't seen it, Cab. There was like I think 4 or 5 sections that he basically talked about. There was like the replay problems, local records, the stadium finals, like specifically the second round, and then the update that was supposed to happen on Track Central, where you're supposed to be sent back to like the main page. Or
wasn't that supposed to be part of the patch?
Or,
did that not happen?
No, that didn't happen. So you're supposed to be sent back to like what? You're supposed to be at the last track played, and then at the last like viewed items, but it sends you back. It still sends you back to the main page on it. And I thought
just Track Central UI in general just needs to be redone, in my opinion. Like
it is
little
very
fix
basic
here and there.
from what
Just
I've seen.
forget about it.
Yeah,
Just get someone to do that. Like just redo the whole thing.
I know the whole Track Central thing probably isn't like your biggest concern necessarily, Blaze, but what do you think about the replay issues and leaderboards?
Oh, dude. Yeah, I could.
That's
talk for
one of the
days about
biggest
this stuff.
issues,
Like,
in my
it's
opinion.
massive for me. Like only being able to watch replays unless they've been uploaded to YouTube. You have to go out of your way to find them.
So
That
what?
are
Okay, I got
dated,
a
I think
question.
11th of April, isn't it? think that's the cutoff mark.
Yeah, that was the day of the patch. So everything before that is like unviewable now, right?
So
Yeah.
did they fuck it up, or did they purposefully remove the ability to watch replays on ninjas? Like, what's the situation with that?
They haven't told us anything in the Elite post game release.
So it could have just been a fuck up.
That, you know, we're kind of cut off to like patches and DLC stuff. I haven't been. I mean, I could probably message one of them and see if they get back to me on it. But it kind of annoys me too, especially when I'm, you know, going for diamonds and stuff, that I cannot look at all the different techniques that people are doing, because most of them, I'd say 90% of, you know, the top diamond runs on tracks at this point are unwatchable. And it's just
So it's not just ninja tracks?
Yeah,
then?
yeah. The camera gets stuck, Cab, on
the
like
cameras,
certain
Yeah,
tracks.
Are ninja tracks like completely unwatchable though? Like they just don't exist anymore or something?
So, you know, I spoke to Thomas about that, and he
2
said that
seconds.
that's not supposed to be like that, where you can't see. So I don't know what's going on with that.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
All right,
Just carry on with that.
no problem, man. But yeah, no, it's crazy. Like going back to seeing like the career, just regular tracks, and seeing the camera like either stopping in place or on. I know it's really funny on the gladiatorial Rome one, right? You get like the camera, they get stuck inside of the plane. You see that?
Yeah.
How there's
dude.
like a camera, you get like, what? How does that even happen?
When they break, you can follow it, but you've got to watch it at like the most awkward angle by
Yeah.
changing the camera. Yeah, it's not ideal. And I don't think it's possible to repair that. I mean, I'm just gonna, you know, go out on a limb and guess here, but how would they go about even fixing what's already been corrupted? I don't know. I don't think that's doable. As for the ninja tracks being locked out completely, I don't think that was intended. Unless maybe, do you guys think it's possible that they've added server load that they can't, you know, how do I say, support for, so they've needed to lock it out? I would like to think not. I'd like to think that they just accidentally turned something off or broke it so that it's currently in the state that it is. I would not like to think that that's a feature moving forward, because it's kind of annoying that you cannot watch what you used to be able to in the first month.
Yeah.
Before the patch.
And this isn't as big of a concern, but also the University of Trials tutorials are unwatchable as well.
I think it's just
the
bugs.
Ninjas.
I'd like to think that it's just bugs, because I would not like to be going forward in. I mean, again, skill games were not viewable, and now they are viewable. So I you know, with the lanes thing, when they fixed one thing, they broke another.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just that they fixed one thing or added something, and then it's broke something else. I don't know.
Did you ever get the problem of the local records? Like you couldn't get PBs, especially on skill games. I heard that was a big problem for some people.
Yeah, because of was it because of the contract thing that you couldn't? Was it this? There were skill games that you couldn't PB on?
Yeah, there was like so in Storm's video there was I forgot which one it was. I think it was like he was showing the basketball one. Or maybe it was no, it was the on fire, like the wheel on fires one. And the PB on there, it said like it was something really small. It was like 0.1 or something like that. Like something really easy that you could pass, and you know, he went and he did like a platinum run and crashed, and then it would show there was no improvement on the PB time. It was just stuck. I don't know if that was the case for a lot of the skill games, but I personally never had that issue pop up before.
I personally haven't experienced that either. One thing I will add to that is I know that there are a few people
Rodeo was a problem, RS was saying.
Were able to I guess cheat some of the skill games to where like they get max distance. I know that was a thing for a few of them.
Yeah, and they changed it so it's more of a speed run, and everybody that finishes, say, the Power Bike game, now it's more of a speedrunning competition than
absolutely, and they
trying
made
to jump
that from
higher.
a really bad into a decent one, which was nice.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were pissed off that it changed like that. People were getting used to trying to do that trying to save that
I think-
burst for the end. But I think it makes sense to do the
and going
speed
it
run.
upside down. I think there was one guy in particular who got really upset and angry
I saw it on Facebook.
on the forums.
I saw
and Reddit,
Facebook
and,
too.
Quite badly into suicide. I don't know if he was being serious, but yeah. But they've changed it the way that it was supposed to be. With what it was designed to be. So it's a good fix. But speaking of the skill games, there are a few of them that could have been better. I don't think the overall quality of skill games that we have. I think also Vantio touched on this in previous podcasts, so we won't talk about it for too long. It's not as good as we've had in previous Trials games. Though having said that, the DLC one where they had, I think it was the machines, that was awesome.
The robot
that was
one,
a great skill game.
Yeah. It was cool at first for me. I really enjoyed it, and then I didn't like the fact that it just repeated it though. I think there could have been it could have been so many more obstacles for it. That's something we touched on.
What I think would have been much better if they did is if they made it to where the robots would come in random order instead of a set pattern.
Yeah,
because then that would really test adaptability and all that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
there are a few things, but the general design of it I thought was awesome. They just slapped the old HD style for the second one, and I think a lot of people weren't too pleased with that one. I thought it was okay. I wouldn't rate it as a great skill game though, and it's very lucky to get this one. I think it's one of the least diamonded tracks, if not the least diamonded track currently in the game. It's got maybe 12 to 15 on there.
Yeah, that was really crazy.
Slide back in.
We were talking about the skill games really quick, just like Blaze's thoughts of them so far. But how about
all those thoughts? Sorry, I'm making you repeat yourself.
It's all good to sum up again. I think it's been touched on before by Vancher in previous podcasts, but the overall, I think, scape of the skill games is not quite as good as it has been in previous Trials games. I did like the fix with the power bike. I think that made that one a lot better. A few of them are good. I think maybe 60 to 70% of them aren't the best skill games that we've ever seen in Trials games. But the DLC did have one that I particularly liked. The design
Which one?
The robot one. I feel like there could have been a few more robots, but I think it was.
See, that's what annoyed me. It's it was a 30-second track to begin with, so having only 5 checkpoints seemed a bit pointless. You think they could have made enough checkpoints to fill up the entire time?
I don't know if you feel the same, but I think they could have added a few more robots, and I feel like they could have made it random which ones you encounter, so it's not predetermined going into each one. You know what you're doing.
Yeah,
it'd be a randomly generated dungeon.
Yeah, so have a pool of 1 to 7 robots, and then just have it randomized, I guess, from number 7 onwards.
For sure. Going back to the whole overview of some of the bugs, what do you think about the stadium finals?
Stadium ones, that's not good. That's not good.
Is there an excuse for it, do you think? Or is it just at this point, are we just going to say that the studio is fucking horrific? No offense.
No, it's all good. I think, did the beta have problems?
No offense to you, but no offense to
Red Links, yeah.
Yeah.
Did the beta have problems as well? I can't remember at this point. It's been a while since I played it.
I mean, the beta had problems, but it was sort of expected because it was a beta. No one sort of really expected those problems to actually still be there.
Did you guys
in the main game.
Did you guys see any of those problems? Were you guys able to do the stadium stuff for the Trials Elite beforehand? You guys do a lot of that?
I'll be honest. I think a lot of us didn't really test it as much as we could have done, because me as a streamer, it's I don't really get much passion out of playing a game that I can't share. So for me, I didn't play it anywhere near as much as some of the other dudes did. I can't say that I even touched the stadium tracks prior to release. And looking back at it, I kind of wish I did. There are a few things that I wish I had have seen. I think Vantia and I were very vocal about the skill games for many, many months leading up to release. And nothing was really changed. They changed a couple things, but
that's the thing. Lots of people pointed some stuff out during the closed beta, many months ago.
Yeah,
on the forums,
and I think
nothing changed.
I think Bloodby has said a few things personally himself as well, where he's given suggestions, even having worked there, and they never really act on. It's rare that they act on things that you say.
It's a
So
shame
having said, Though having said that, I think Cycad and Blubby did a great job tweaking what they could do on the bike, because a lot of people were very unhappy in the second beta.
I feel like a lot of the decisions that were made make it seem like the people like at the top making the actual decisions are like just completely disconnected from what people actually want in the community.
Yeah, a couple of things that I wasn't too pleased with was apparently a fair few times in development, a track creator who works there, I'm not going to name anybody, he's working on a track, it's an awesome driving line, and somebody comes along with like more physics, more elevators, more seesaws,
Yeah,
and they have to put that in. They are forced to then.
I did hear that.
I'm not a huge fan of any of the seesaw stuff. I really don't like that stuff. I just want a solid driving line where like you don't have to worry about I don't know. Do you think that there's plenty of tire glitches still in the game? Do you experience them still every once in a while? I thought they were gone completely, but
I thought they were advertised as, and for the most part, what I did test pre-release, they were. But I think the more you play, you'll cross every one every 20. I think it's safe to say that they are rarer than they have been in previous games, but they still exist, and they are still, a bane of speedrunners' experience on a few tracks.
Just the way it is on physics-based games, you can't have perfect simulation.
Yeah,
it's not possible. Which is why, generally, if you can help it, you should really try and avoid like adding extra physics on top of what you've already got to play with. So it's surprising that someone would try to push physics obstacles.
Yeah.
And they kind of shot themselves in the foot, because I imagine that they've done it to try and for PR and shit to make it look cool. But all they've really done, the game didn't sell well at all, and all they've really done is pissed off the actual fans of the game that would normally play it for longer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they look at it as a section of how do we sell, X amount of copies? How do we get general gamers interested in buying the game? And this is what we do. I don't know.
Anyone who knows physics-based games though should know that you don't really want to sort of add fire to an already existing sort of physics engine sort of thing.
Cat's comment just made me laugh a bit.
Hey, Cat has some zingers every once in a while. Babyface Doughnut, yeah, I know. Everybody's like, wow, you look like you're 18 years old again. Shaving all that off. It'll be back, don't worry. Calm down. Back very soon. Lastly, wanted to touch on the whole Track Central thing, and being set back, and the whole UI, and let's just piece this all together. So it still sends you back to the main page on Track Central when you finish a track. This is it's just a minor inconvenience in my, I don't know, personal taste, I guess, because I'm used to searching up a bunch of different stuff throughout the sessions for streaming. Leaderboards though are very messed up.
See, that's
on Track Central.
That to me is a big deal.
So apparently, from what I've seen on the streams that I've caught, you guys have to zero fault certain tracks for it to be posted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's listed as a ninja, is that?
So if it's listed as a ninja, and are most of them, do they include the plus 5 second penalty, or sometimes it doesn't include the plus 5 seconds?
If it's listed as the game type ninja, then it doesn't include 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think those are the ones that you have to zero.
Those ones are the hard ones. Yeah, exactly.
But then if you don't do that, then you don't get on the leaderboard sometimes if you take too long or whatever. Is that right? Like how it used to be on the in-game tracks?
It's really inconsistent, because I've been putting on the leaderboards for tracks that I've got, over 30 minutes on. I've still made it onto the leaderboards. I still get the baby medal for it. But one of the biggest problems with having this whole plus 5 seconds thing is when I'm playing a really tough track, something that I know I am going to time out on, I lose track of time really easily, and it makes it so hard to organize how much time do I need to spend on these checkpoints to be able to finish it.
2 years before the game came out, in the early development Just when they pitched the idea of the whole +5 thing, I was very vocally against it, and I gave several reasons. You know, I think I talked for a good 15 to 20 minutes and did like.
Are you still against it now?
Yeah, what are your mainest like concerns about the +5 seconds?
I did like diagrams and all kinds of stuff on board to try and convince them of why it's a bad idea.
So do you still think it's a bad idea?
Yes. I
don't mind the reason why they did it.
Their one big reason for putting it in, and this is what I always took away from the conversations that we had, is to not deter new players from looking at a massive fault counter or ticker on the screen. That was the logic behind it.
See, I don't mind it, but I do mind the fact that it doesn't work in Track Central as it should.
Yeah, it's kind of broken a few things from what I've seen.
Yeah, I just don't think Ninja should have it at all.
Ninja scoring system, like the game mode Ninja, I feel like that was just a last minute addition that had zero testing.
An option on builders. What if they were to put in an option on Track Central for builders to choose a, I guess a timing?
Well, that's the thing. It is an option when you build the track. Like you set that as a track builder. You can set the game mode to Ninja, which will use the old scoring system, but then people don't like using that because it means that you have to zero fault it to get on the leaderboard because they haven't managed to fix that yet. So everyone usually just uploads Ninjas with the 5 seconds just so that people can actually, pull scores.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you have to adjust like all the medal times and stuff too if you want people to be more motivated to come back, have the replayability of a track. You got to make sure you set, I guess, more decent times. I hate it when I just see like diamond times or diamond medals for everything.
You can adjust that so you guys can start, submitting the builds on the preferred method.
Yeah, so you don't have to have the +5 seconds. I mean, it's not a thing when you're on the career ninjas. So why should it be a thing when you're doing the Track Central?
They themselves have their own problems.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole ninja scoring system was like added at the last minute and then just not tested, and then it just didn't work. And it's an
interesting thing actually, because I was speaking to Thomas about that a couple of weeks ago. I didn't know before the game was released that ninjas were adding to the global score. That was something that I found out, I think, during the beta, second beta. When I'm playing the game before the game's released, and you're looking at, you're playing tracks, you're testing stuff out. I didn't really have a reason to look at the Hall of Fame leaderboards because who are you competing against? That was something that I feel was kept very under wraps and in-house. I didn't know about that myself.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back at it, at first I was very against it, but now I think it's good. I like the whole back to, I guess, HD way of scoring stuff.
There's no reason for it not to be on the Hall of Fame.
It's a good thing. I know it's been. I really do dislike the notion of a couple of individuals who have to get the added score of black belt 1 a few days ago. So we now have 2 people who have done it in the top 30.
Who else done it?
Mistigan, Botkin. I think he's changed his name to Collecting WRs.
Who did he pay?
He didn't say. He refused to say. But he came into my stream and said, him and Dempsey were giving kappas everywhere.
Oh man.
Mistigan has also gone down that route.
We talked about that so much more. I don't want to go into it again. You guys can go check out the other podcast if you want to hear me rant about like why it's just so bogus to be paying people on a game that's supposed to be a challenge and that requires, a lot more time investment.
Entitlement. They think because they're speedrunners that they're like entitled to be top of the main leaderboard.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into this whole fight with like, elitism and ninjas, elitism and speedrunning. I don't even want to talk about that. Why can't they just get along? Why can't they be, together as one?
Someone to do it for free. It's still not right though.
Ban them. Pay and ban. Easy. Done.
Yeah, I think just scores should be reset for the people that do it.
Yeah, but old schools, not just ninjas.
Yeah. Yeah, start it fresh. I mean, that's just one thing that Red Links they'll have to take that into account themselves and decide maybe.
Then
Speaking
the fact
of,
that Red Links hasn't
what
removed
about all the
glitch
cheats
goals,
still on the? Yeah, I was about to say.
What's that?
it
Exactly
doesn't look
that.
like they actually give too much of a care about the state of the leaderboards.
Mm.
It's not hard.
It's been like
to
2 months.
In,
so.
This was also seen in gold. The plethora.
The plethora, yeah.
Plethora
of cheaters on every single track leaderboard, and it
That's
seems
the
like
problem
it's
with
following
PC,
suit
man.
and rising. It is a problem because I guess in a way Xbox and PlayStation are seeing the bad end of that stick. Of
Yeah, like
PC
it's so easy to
across
just
the
fake
platform.
times on Xbox on PC.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be though, because they're why don't they use the replays to verify the run? You know,
They could easily have one
Like, what-
person who knows the community.
no, like not even that. Like
delete
as a
the
developer, you know, one of the main like perks of using a replay system is that you can use the replay to verify a legitimate time, like not manually, automatically. Like I do it in my game, you know,
yeah.
and I'm fucking like one person. Like why wouldn't you use the replay just to check if it's, because you can just use that replay, make sure it adds up with the time that's being submitted, and then, you know, there you go, easy. Why don't they do that?
Jugsy's saying, so when's everybody going back to Fusion? Actually, Jugsy, I don't know if you heard earlier, the Trials Evolution became backwards compatible. We talked about that earlier today, and I've moved back there for a little bit. I'm going back and forth between Rising and Evo. It's a bit of a switch back and forth. It's pretty tough with like throttle and stuff, but I've really been enjoying Evo a lot. I highly recommend you try out Evolution, Jugsy.
I really want to go back to Ryzen though and build, but like I just can't justify going back to that game in its current state. But I really want to stop building again. Like I've got like a building craving right now.
But once they fix up leaderboards and replays, are those like the two main that you'll go back to?
Nah.
Oh, and then there's performance, and then there's performance issues too. We didn't even touch on that.
Yeah, performance issues are horrific.
We have touched on it several times, both in my stream and in like other podcasts. But my quick little spiel on the whole performance issues on I have the original Xbox One, and I can't play a lot of Track Central stuff. Like it's just unplayable. It's so laggy. It's like 10 frames a second, something like that, maybe if that. And then
I've noticed that it looks worse than it does on Fusion as well.
And then on the career, it's like impossible for UK Upper. I think that's like the main one.
UK Upper and Nippon Springs.
Yeah.
And then there's one of the one of
it
the
makes me
stadium
wonder
tracks.
if they built these tracks and tested the performance of them just on PC exclusively. Because
that's what I was thinking too.
Anything,
yeah,
because everything is such like easy to reproduce, like bug wise.
Yeah,
it's impossible to believe that someone who tested the game didn't like see these issues before release. Like it's just I don't buy it for a second.
I don't experience any of these issues at all on PC.
Yeah, I've played them on PC and it's fine.
Yeah, that's why I switched over to PC, like exclusively now for Rising.
Yeah.
But
I mean, PC is just best for building anyway, so that's why I would play PC.
It looks so good too. It runs really smooth, at least for the most part. There are some.
Kev play Amber 2, you know, Todd's track from Fusion.
Yeah.
I've got to say, some of the textures on that track look worse on Ryzen than they did on Fusion. Some of the rock textures are just like horrific.
Does it look like
quite a lot?
Does it look like they they're stretched out, like they're expanded too much, and they just don't have?
It looks really bad.
And they look like they're made out of clay, kind of that filter on it.
I've noticed that Fusion, although Ryzen technically looks better, I've noticed that a lot of like it doesn't actually look better, if that makes sense. Like if you made a track in Fusion, in Fusion or Evo, and then made the same track with the respective objects in Ryzen, I actually think it would look better in the original games than it would in Ryzen.
Hey, Borad's is in the chat. What's up, dude? What's Borad's been up to?
Gun on words.
Borad's, you been playing any Rising, or have you tried out some Evo at all recently? Just wondered where you been. I don't think I've seen you stream in a long time. I miss you.
You got demotivated from that denial by Twitch.
Oh no!
Did he get denied?
Don't get down by that. Keep your chin up. You will get that partnership very soon. I believe in you. I believe it, man.
Absolutely, dude. Keep at it. I believe.
I wanna
stop streaming. It's like game over.
I wanna try to end this on a more positive note. Blaze, what has been like the best thing to come out of Rising besides like having your whole community has been like expanding pretty exponentially. I know you really enjoyed the whole speedrunning aspect, and for me personally, I've gotten into a little bit of speedrunning here and there. I made it to the top 100 for like first time ever, but now I dropped back down. I haven't played speedrunning in like a couple weeks. I dropped down quite a bit in the hundreds. But
yeah. I always like to see new faces and new streamers to the and we've seen a hell of a lot of new faces since Rising has come out. I could probably name 10 off the top of my head that are fresh since Rising has been released. That's one of the best things community based that I've seen come from the game.
I actually couldn't name a single person I think that I've met from Rising that wasn't here before.
Really?
Yeah, I actually don't think I know a single person.
I mean, that's surprising. There's Alien, there's Fierce Cast.
Yeah, but Alien isn't though. Alien was in Fusion.
Alien was on Fusion for a little bit, before. Yeah. There's some people in my stream that have come in recently.
Period of 6 months or so that I didn't know who was playing towards the tail end of Fusion, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I literally can't think of a single person who's new from Rising release.
Fair enough.
Roscoe?
Maybe Roscoe.
Yeah. I was about to say Roscoe. he came to my stream for the first time. Aetherius is a new one that has been in the stream recently. I think Random.
I mean, I know there are definitely people, but like people who have like met, sort of like spoken to, like befriended, kind of, you know.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I don't want to carry on this podcast as long as the past 3 have been. I want to make sure that we have enough content because I do. I think there are a couple of the topics that we didn't get to today that we'll try to get to next weekend. I've been talking to
next weekend.
Yeah, so Cab, we're gonna be trying to do these podcasts on a more weekly basis, man. What do you feel about that?
Feel good?
Yeah, I think it'd be a much better thing to try to get this more, occasionally onto the weekends.
Maybe I'll dip my feet into trials this week.
You should. Tell me how it goes. We'll talk about it next weekend for sure. Blaze, it was awesome having you on this podcast. Do you have any other stuff that you want to like conclude? Any shout outs, any other pieces that you want to add?
No, just shout out to all the community in general, keep doing you. Keep being awesome, and no, man, thank you for having me on. I look forward to joining one of these again in the future. Yeah,
man, we'd love to have you back on. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for chilling out. Hope you enjoyed. I'll make sure I upload and edit this and try to get it to my YouTube channel. If you didn't catch everything, you can check out the VOD and try to provide some feedback maybe for the next episode. I always appreciate the comment section. I know Dave provided actually quite a bit. We didn't get to everything that he actually submitted for us to maybe talk about, but I think we'll talk about all of his stuff possibly next time. Peace out, guys, and I hope to see you later. I think I'll be on a little bit later today, but I got to do some Mother's Day stuff. Bye.
Bye.